Close your eyes and picture Antarctica. You probably see ice, lots of it, maybe a few penguins. And if you push further, if you try to imagine more of it, you get the same thing, more ice. And that makes sense, because the continent alone accounts for 90% of Earth's total glacier ice. In some places, it goes down over 3 miles. It is the coldest, driest, and windiest continent on the planet. The largest fully terrestrial animal that lives there year-round is literally an insect, the Antarctic midge, which also, by default, holds the title of largest land predator on the entire continent. To many people, Antarctica has always been like this, and will presumably always remain like this. But that's not actually correct, because once upon a time, Antarctica was not white, it was green, it was warm, it was loud with life. And the story of how it got there, flourished, and ultimately lost everything is one of the most dramatic arcs in the entire history of this planet. To understand what Antarctica was, you first have to understand where it was. For a good chunk of Earth's history, Antarctica wasn't the lone frozen outcast we know today. It was connected, sharing borders with Australia, India, and South America as part of the ancient supercontinent of Gondwana. Its latitude sat closer to what is now southern Chile and Argentina, and combined with the overall warmth of the Mesozoic era, courtesy of elevated carbon dioxide levels, the result was a continent that was ice-free, green, and genuinely hospitable to life. Instead of glaciers and ice sheets, lush forests covered the land, dominated by ancient conifers, ferns, and benedictines. Rivers, lakes, streams, and swamps peppered the surface. It was, in almost every sense, unrecognizable compared to today. And because it was still attached to the rest of the world, life arrived. The first dinosaurs we know of appeared in Antarctica during the Jurassic period, and the best studied site from that era is a formation called Hansen Hill, located on Mount Kirkpatrick, dating back roughly 194 million years. Today, it's buried in glaciers. Back then, the climate sat around 17 to 18 degrees Celsius, and it was home to a surprisingly diverse cast of early dinosaurs. Primitive sauropodomorphs roamed alongside more derived sauropods, which is a bit like if ancient humans walked back into the world today and just started living among us. Early ornithischians, smaller theropods, and beetles, and cockroaches. But perhaps the most remarkable resident of Jurassic Antarctica was a predator discovered in 1994, nicknamed Elvisaurus, not for its face, but for the distinct pompadour-like crest that ran across the top of its skull. Its real name was Cryolophosaurus, meaning frozen crested lizard. This was not a small animal. Mature individuals measured around 7 meters long and weighed between half a ton and 2/3 of a ton, making it not only the largest predator we know of from Jurassic Antarctica, but the largest theropod from the early Jurassic full stop. It had powerful arms, inward curving teeth designed to hold struggling prey, and evidence from multiple specimens suggests it wasn't above cannibalism, including at least one case where a juvenile had ransacked the carcass of a much larger adult. The formations also revealed thick layers of volcanic material, evidence that devastating eruptions were common, sending pyroclastic flows and lava across the landscape, igniting wildfires, straining resources. Life in Jurassic Antarctica was alive, but it was under pressure. Then the world kept moving. Gondwana continued to break apart. Antarctica drifted further south. India separated. Eventually, only Antarctica and Australia remained joined. 2 continents sharing animals, sharing ecosystems, slowly drifting apart until even that connection broke. By the late Cretaceous, roughly 85 million years ago, Antarctica was largely on its own, and something remarkable happened. Rather than becoming more barren, it flourished. The climate shifted, more humid, more seasonal, with average temperatures during summer sometimes reaching 25 degrees Celsius. That's comparable to Kenya today. Fossilized soil samples suggest the continent's environment resembled the kind of temperate forests you might find in parts of South America, dominated now by flowering plants, southern beaches, and Araucarian conifers. Lush, green, alive. There were still challenges. Winter brought months of perpetual darkness, potentially 4 straight months without sunlight, just stars, moonlight, and the occasional glow of a distant volcano. Life found a way anyway. This was Antarctica's golden age. The continent hosted an increasingly diverse range of dinosaurs. Ankylosaurs patrolled the forests, including Antarctopelta, a stocky, medium-sized creature whose real weapon wasn't its armor, but its tail. As the bony osteoderms approached the tail's tip, they elongated and flattened into something eerily similar to a macua whittle, the Mesoamerican obsidian-bladed sword that Spanish conquistadors reported could decapitate a horse in a single swing. Now imagine that weapon on an animal the size of a bison. Roaming the same forests was Imperabator, a large, fully feathered predator over 3 meters long with powerful arms, bladed teeth, and enormous eyes adapted for hunting in the long, dark winters. The thought of being stalked through perpetual darkness by a giant feathered raptor is, I'll be honest, not a comforting one. And those were just the animals we can identify. Paleontologists also know of at least one other large carnivorous theropod, estimated to have stood around 2.4 meters tall, likely a megaraptoran, a group that used massive hand claws to essentially skewer prey like a shish kebab. We know almost nothing else about it, just that it was there, watching. And then there were the sauropods. Recently, incomplete vertebrae confirmed that titanosaurs, some of the largest animals ever to walk the Earth, also called this continent home. Exactly which genus and how large remains unknown. But titanosaurs in Antarctica, in every direction, life. But the true horrors of Cretaceous Antarctica weren't on land. They were in the water. The seas surrounding the continent were home to at least 5 species of mosasaur, including Mosasaurus, a 10-meter predator with a highly pointed snout and flexible lower jaw capable of ratchet feeding, walking prey slowly and tortuously down its throat. Alongside it swam Kaikaifilu, adapted to deep water, and the 8-meter Taniwasaurus, built like a biological ram. And then the sharks, not just one, an entire ecosystem of them. Angel sharks along the seafloor, an extinct species of cow shark in the deeper waters, the frilled shark, still alive today, whose warmer Cretaceous range extended all the way to the pole. The Scapanorhynchus, a goblin shark unlike any goblin shark alive, enormous at up to 6.7 meters, capable of venturing into fresh water, and equipped with a long electrosensory snout that meant if you were crossing a river and couldn't see it, it could absolutely still sense you. And above them all, Cretalamna, the shark that may one day evolve into the megalodon. Sharks have, it seems, always been this way. From above, a pterosaur with a wingspan estimated at over 5 meters soared over the coast, the largest flying animal ever recorded over Antarctica, possibly an ajdarchid capable of hunting both at sea and on land. Land, sea, air. Antarctica had it all. And then it ended. A few million years after the continent's golden age, the party was violently closed by the end Cretaceous extinction event. The asteroid struck present-day Mexico, And while you might think Antarctica, sitting at the far end of the world, would be spared, the evidence says otherwise. A study analyzing over 6,000 marine fossils from the region, spanning 70 million years up to 1 million years after the impact, found that approximately 70% of species vanished at the boundary, matching extinction rates seen everywhere else on Earth. The impact brought magnitude 4 earthquakes, a superheated atmosphere that ignited anything in the open, a 10-meter tsunami, and then, perhaps worst of all, a nuclear winter that blotted out the sun for years. Antarctica would never be the same. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. It didn't stay dead. In the aftermath, temperatures began to rise, not gradually, but dramatically. The early Cenozoic became defined by a super greenhouse effect, with carbon dioxide levels pushing global temperatures to heights not seen in 100 million years. During an event called the Eocene thermal maximum, parts of Antarctica may have reached average temperatures of around 25 degrees Celsius again. And the continent was still further north than it sits today. So Antarctica came back, not with dinosaurs, but with something just as strange: terror birds. Scientifically known as forest racids, predators standing up to 2.5 meters tall, weighing over 130 kilograms, capable of running faster than 50 kilometers per hour, with hooked beaks built for dismembering prey. The undisputed apex predators of the forested Antarctic interior, filling a niche that T-Rex had left behind. Then there were the mammals, rhinoceros-like astropotheres, heavy, specialized herbivores with strange enlarged teeth. One Antarctic species, Antarctodon, may have exceeded half a ton. Notungulates, an entirely extinct order, included a species weighing around 400 kilograms, likely the largest confirmed land animal in Antarctica since the non-avian dinosaurs. There were even marsupials, now long gone from the continent, which used Antarctica as a bridge to reach Australia. The same marsupials that eventually gave rise to the animals Australia is known for today. And the water, once again, had its own dangers: crocodiles. An osteoderm discovered from the Eocene matches what you'd expect from a crocodilian around 7 meters long, 35% larger than the average saltwater croc alive today. Opportunistic ambush hunters that would have made every trip to the water a gamble. And the whales. Antarctica had terrifying prehistoric whales, an undescribed basilosaurid potentially measuring up to 12 meters, and Lanocetus, a baleen whale that, unlike its gentle modern relatives, still had teeth. Likely enormous, likely a predator, found in both river deltas and open ocean. A humpback-sized nightmare with a mouth full of weapons. The sharks returned too. Paleogene Antarctica was, frankly, the Australia of the prehistoric ocean. These were the shadows in the water beneath the giant penguins. Because here's the thing about penguins. They didn't start in the cold. They evolved near warm coastal Australia and New Zealand around 60 million years ago, then migrated to Antarctica when it was still tropical. During the height of the Eocene warm period, 16 species called the continent home, including 3 species of giant penguin. Anthropornis and Palaeodiptes both stood over 2 meters tall. They were magnificent, they were enormous, and they had to worry about being eaten by crocodiles. Antarctica was not a paradise, but it was extraordinary. And then, like before, it ended. Around 34 million years ago, Antarctica finally separated completely from South America, opening the Drake Passage. As those gaps widened, a new current formed, the Antarctic Circumpolar Current, a ring of cold water that surrounds the continent to this day, blocking warm water from reaching its shores while steadily drawing down carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Global temperatures, which had been climbing for tens of millions of years, began to fall quickly. The first ice sheets formed, then they spread. Over the next several million years, the continent slowly surrendered, habitat by habitat, species by species, until the ice covered virtually everything. Today, the largest year-round terrestrial predator is a wingless midge the size of a small ant. Antarctica went from a world of dinosaurs to a jungle to a frozen wasteland. Not once, but twice, and both times, the ending came fast. Faster than anything living there could adapt to. What we are left with is ice, miles of it, holding 70% of Earth's fresh water. Somewhere beneath all that ice, there are fossils we haven't found yet, chapters of this story we haven't read. The continent gives up its secrets slowly, but the ones it has given us are extraordinary enough